Buyer's Guide is brought to you by Change Cars. Find your dream vehicle with Change Cars, the platform buyers trust.
This week on Buyer's Guide, we take a closer look at the lesser spotted Alfa Romeo Guilia.
The Haval Jolion goes head-to-head with the Toyota Corolla Cross.
And we find out how best to take care of the CVT on an older model Honda Jazz.
Hello and welcome to Buyer's Guide, the show that's dedicated to solving all your vehicle's questions and queries, whether they relate to buying, selling, maintenance, or repairs. If you have a question for our panel of experts, please send it to buyersguide@ignitiontv.co.za. And remember to give us all the facts, so we can answer your question as thoroughly as possible.
And here to help us answer this week's bevy of questions is Bradley Scorer from Arnold Chats Cars, and of course Thomas Falconer from the Sunday Times. Welcome, gentlemen. Nice to have you all back.
Thanks for having us.
Cool, let's get on with it.
Our first question comes from Donald, who's been driving an E60 BMW 530D since 2005. The car's done 400,000 kilometers without any major engine problems, but he thinks it's time for a new car. He's keen on buying a brand new Alfa Romeo Guilia 2-litre turbo and would like to hear our thoughts on this vehicle and how it compares to a diesel-powered BMW. Okay, Bradley, let us have it.
So I mean, the Giulia is just a fantastic car. It's probably one of the most underrated cars in the market. It's full to spec, the current one, the Veloce. I mean, it's got everything that opens and closes. If you had to spec a Merc or a BM like that, you'd be looking at 300-400 grand more probably than what the Alfa's selling for. It's unbelievably reliable. No issues come with that car at all. We have customers with over 200,000 Ks where they just come in, service, go out again. So, it's not old school where Alphas break and all that type of stuff. Just doesn't.
So follow the oil train is just a myth now.
Yeah, just a myth. Yeah.
So Bradley, in terms of like second-hand versions of these, many around?
There's not a lot around, and when they're around, their prices are quite high compared to other brands in that sort of category, because of their scarcity.
Supply and demand story, I suppose.
Supply and demand, yeah. But, and comparing it to his BM, it's going to obviously use a bit more petrol, but it is quite economical. It's going to have more power, and it'll be a lot more fun to drive than a 5 Series.
I'm sure. Thomas, your feeling?
Yeah, look, I like the Giulia. I agree with Brady. I think it's a very dynamic and fun car to drive. My understanding is there are only 2 models now. You can get the Veloce, which is just over R1 million starting, and then you get the Cloverleaf, which is obviously a lot more. So I don't know what his budget is, but I mean, I was digging around on classifieds, and you can get a 2021 Veloce 649.
650 grand. I mean, so that's a big saving.
It's a big saving. If he doesn't want a Veloce, and he wants to get the Super, which is a little bit down on power, it's got 147 as opposed to, I think it's 204. Best one I could find was about 550, 590. So
600 to 700,000 rand, you're going to get yourself a good second-hand one.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, Brad, in terms of the warranties, what is the warranty with an Alfa?
So there was a big price jump in the cars recently. So the original Veloce, like the one that he was referring to, sold for about 750 because it had a 3-year warranty and a service plan. Currently, they launched with a 5-year, 100,000 maintenance plan and service warranty.
So second-hand ones would still carry on with a little bit of warranty.
Yes,
still.
yeah.
So, and that doesn't matter if it's previously owned by somebody else.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even have to do quality check like BM to change the name or anything.
It just carries on with the warranty.
It just goes with the car.
Yeah, and I mean, I love the Giulia. I think it's a beautiful-looking car, and it's nice to have something a bit different. I mean, the 5 Series is a good car, but there's millions of them around, and they're boring and they're bland.
However,
never look at them.
He does mention the 330D.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you can't buy a 330D new anymore. You only get the 320, which comes in at 839.
Yeah.
If he wants to throw in a few specs, he can. If he was looking at getting a new Giulia, he's still got a little bit of space there to play with.
Yeah, go and have a look at the Giulia. Go and have a drive it and see what
They're both good cars.
Yeah, they're both good. Yeah. Let's move on now. So we're going to move on to a question from Marnie, who recently bought a VW Combi 2-litre TDI with 148,000 Ks on the clock. Apparently, it was a repossessed vehicle and came without a service manual, spare keys, and the VIN search showed a service history up to 60,000 Ks. So the dealer kindly agreed to service it and also replace the cam belts, which is a good thing. He wants to know, is there anything he should be worried about on the TDI motor at this sort of mileage? Well, I can say straight off no, because the the best engines from VW and Audi are the diesel versions. Bradley, what's your feeling on this?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a very, very good motor,
Yeah.
and it's still got a lot of life left in it after 140,000 k's.
Yeah.
Just service it regularly. If you've got a DSG, watch that. I don't know whether it's automatic
Well, this
or
will
not.
be an earlier one, so it'll be
So it
either
won't.
automatic or
Yeah.
a manual. We're not too sure which one
So
it is.
yeah, I mean, it's a bulletproof car. You've just got to make sure that you service it when it needs to be serviced.
Yeah.
Simple.
You
My
know,
advice here, sorry.
his thing about, he says the few services and things probably missing. Don't forget, when a vehicle is repossessed, it stands
For a long
sometime for 2-3 years.
Yeah.
So that's where he could have missed his services anyway.
Well, also, I mean, if it's up to date now and you service it now, it's fine. Thomas, you have a feeling on it?
Yeah, look, it's a good engine. As Bradley said, it's a bulletproof engine. Just, keep ahead on maintenance and change the oil
Yeah.
as often as you can, and it should be fine. Obviously keep an eye on the turbo as well.
Yeah, so basically the only thing that I find with these cars that fail is turbos, because a lot of them get used for like a courier transport and picking up people from the airport, and that people tend to drive the hell out of them and they don't maintain them. So shorten your service intervals, and especially if you're going to use it as a tow vehicle, or bring your service intervals on those cars every 15,000 Ks. Drop it down to every 10,000 kilometers, do an oil change and an oil filter, and you'll find, I mean, I've got clients of mine with those vehicles like that have done 300,000-400,000 kilometers, trouble-free, never changed a turbo. And if it's an automatic gearbox, have the gearbox oil change every 60,000 Ks, and that'll extend the life of the gearbox. It's all about, and I suppose it's not
but it's
only
also
for
driving
this vehicle.
style, Adam.
It's every car.
Yeah.
Whether if you want to save your turbo,
Well-
the idea of idling the car after a hard drive, before you switch it off.
Yeah.
Just let it
Idle
cool
it,
down.
just let
Yeah.
it cool, just idle it
Yeah.
for a minute or so, cool, let it cool down, and like you always say, run inside the house, empty the vehicle, take all your stuff out while the vehicle's idling,
And then just switch it
and then
off,
switch
yeah.
it off after that.
And
It'll
also when they're
definitely-
warming up as well, because diesels don't like to be thrashed when
Yeah.
they're cold. So
Yes.
let them just be easy on them until they get up to the normal operating
I
temp.
suppose that advice applies to all the
All
cars.
cars,
Yes.
Sure.
I mean, you remember the old days with Alphas. Oh, Alpha, you have to start and let it idle. It was the worst thing you could ever do to a car. Just
Yeah.
get in and drive it
And drive it
gently and let it
slowly.
warm itself up.
Yeah.
Those old wives' tales.
Yeah.
Let it idle for half an
Yeah.
hour before you get into it. Okay.
Okay, there, Adam's off on a tangent again.
Yeah.
We'll be taking a short break, but when we return, the Toyota Corolla Cross goes up against its arch rival from Haval.
And we compare used German hatchbacks at around the 120,000 Rand mark.
Find your dream vehicle with Change Cars, the platform buyers trust.
Welcome back to Buyer's Guide. Ferdy owns a 2015 Volvo XC60 D5, which he considers a great family car and towing vehicle. However, around town the fuel consumption is a bit too high for him, so Ferdy would like to swap the Volvo for something a bit more compact and economical. He's got a budget of 400,000 Rand, which is nice and healthy. He's narrowed his choices down to the Haval Jolion, the Toyota Cross, or a newer, used XC60. Bradley.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of choice in that sort of market. The Jolion's a very nice car. It's got a lot of value for money there. I'd like to know what he's towing, though. So
Yeah.
you just need to check that, because if it's something heavy, then maybe you must look at that XC60. The
Yeah.
other two won't be ideal caravan towing type vehicles. If it's just a normal trailer, he should
Towing
be
a
fine with
boat.
a Jolion.
A bass boat.
boat.
A bass boat, no, then he's going to have to go a bit bigger. So the Jolion and the Cross won't tow a boat.
So the
nicely.
Cross is a 1.8, and it's, Thomas, I'm sure you've driven
Yeah.
the Cross. It's a great,
Big fan of the Cross, great car.
but not a great towing car.
Well, yeah, look, it depends how much I don't know how big a bass boat is.
Yeah.
It's not my
Yeah.
forte, but I did check the specs. The 1.8 non-hybrid Cross will tow braked 800 kgs.
Yeah.
I don't know how
She's a
heavy.
fancy trailer with a suitcase in it.
I don't know
Yeah.
how heavy
Yeah.
a
Look,
bass boat is.
I mean,
And you know, guys,
ideal car is that Cross.
we shouldn't be looking at those cars. We should be looking at his other options that he's chosen further down the line.
XC60.
Yeah.
Yeah, not only that, the Toyota Fortuner as well.
Yeah, Fortuna.
Yeah.
Like you want
And
that
he
nice
doesn't need a
diesel-
4x4.
Yeah.
You see, so he can't have it both ways. He can't have economical and tow a bass boat.
Well, I would say, I mean, my wife drives the XC60, and I think it's a great car. If you move up to the new version of XC60, because his previous generation was the 5-cylinder, which aren't known for great fuel consumption. So you look for like a XC60 D4 or D5. The D5 you can get in 4-wheel drive, which if you're going to chuck a boat into the...
But he owns a currently XC60
Yeah,
D5.
but that's the previous gen, the 5-cylinder one. So the new 4-cylinder e-drive engines are much better, much more fuel efficient. I know in my wife's car, she gets around about 6.5 litres to 100, which is great fuel consumption. And if you go for a D5, it'll come in 4-wheel drive. So if you need to pull the boat out of the water, and you'll pick one up, his budget's 400 grand. You'll pick one up with under 80, 90,000 Ks. You'll find one may even still have warranty on it. And you'll pick one up with a budget, and I think it'll suit your application perfectly. You get the space, you get the power, you get the economy, and the towability.
Yeah.
What about if he's considering second-hand Fortuner? You could also look at second-hand Ford Everest.
Yeah.
2017, 2018 vintage. You could get the 2.2 diesel or the 3.2.
Yeah, the 3.2 is a better option
Yeah.
because the 2.2 is a bit flat.
Yeah.
I found him a Pajero Sport.
Very nice.
58,000 kilometers, 400,
There's another really good option.
420K. 2018 model.
Yeah.
You know, there's something he could go for. And it'll pull his bass boat and
And more. And it's Vespa.
Sure, I thought you were going to say something else. No, that's a great idea to go. That's a Mitsubishi is also a great idea. Sneaky. Before you get rude, move on.
Before we head into the ad break, here's a question from Mike. He has a budget of 120,000 Rand and would like to get into a hatchback. Not older than 10 years old, and his options are a VW Scirocco or Golf or a BMW 1 Series. The vehicle should have under 130,000 kilometers on the clock, and if there's no service history, he plans to spend about 15,000 Rand on a huge service immediately after purchase. He will be covering less than 10,000 kilometers annually and intends to keep the car for at least 7 years. Firstly, gentlemen, I couldn't find any car below 130,000 kilometers that he's looking at
Yep.
for 120 grand.
120 grand, no.
It's not going to happen. It's wishful thinking. The only Golf he's going to get for 120,000 is like a city Golf.
If he's lucky.
If he's lucky.
Yeah.
Yes.
But everything else in that price range, in those models, they're going to be basket cases, high mileage, not maintained, possibly code 3, possibly just avoid it. It's
And the
really-
15 grand he's thinking of spending won't even cover the suspension
Nothing.
on these on a model that he wants to look at 120 grand.
Even the
Yeah.
tires.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right here,
It's
Thomas.
been
Yeah.
to the, if it's got low mileage like that, then it's had a haircut.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, you must look at something like a Polo or something. I'm sure you could pick something up on that sort of level
Or an
with
up.
that. Or you
Or
must
an
wait.
up, yeah.
Or you must wait a little bit and save up a bit more. But
You see, if you've only got a small budget of 120,000 Rand, I mean, quite frankly, that's a small budget nowadays when buying a car. You're not going to have a lot of money to spend on fixing the car. And if you're buying like a Scirocco, and I would say stay away from it because they're so unreliable. And the same with like a 1 Series. If you're buying a 1 Series for 120 grand, you're going to get one with, like you guys have both said,
Huge
high
mileage,
mileage, and it's going to be expensive to maintain. You're going to be spending a fortune. I'd rather buy something not so flashy, that's a bit more reliable. And there's a lot of great cars out there. You look around. If you go into any of the sort of internet portals for buying cars and put in your budget of 120 grand, put in, you don't want so much mileage, and just go through and see what it spits out. I mean, for 120 grand, you may even find yourself something like a Kia Sorento, a coupe, which is quite nice. It's a
Or
bit
you could
different.
look at one of the
But it'll be
i20s
reliable.
or i30s,
Yeah.
Hyundais.
yeah,
at those
I mean, there will be a lot of option there.
This is a bit of
huge.
champagne. What is it?
Taste, champagne taste,
Taste,
beer
yeah,
money.
money.
Yeah.
Yes. You've got to really have a look at it and see what you're buying. Because I think we all agree, don't go buy that because you're just going to regret it. Rather look for something that's less mileage and more realistic. Okay, now, don't go away because after the break, we found out how you can cure a Honda Jazz with a gearbox shudder.
And we evaluate compact SUVs from VW, Toyota, and Hyundai.
Find your dream vehicle with Change Cars, the platform buyers trust.
Thank you for tuning into Buyer's Guide. Vinny owns a 2008 Honda Jazz 1.5 Auto, which he bought a year ago. It has recently developed a shudder when pulling off, and he's done some online research into this issue, which turned out to be a common problem for all Honda Jazzes up until 2009. One of the fixes that he's come across is to drain the transmission fluid, fill it with genuine Honda CVT oil, drive the car for a short distance, and drain the gearbox again. He would like to know what our thoughts are on this remedy.
Well, I suppose this is where we come in.
Yeah.
Now, I'm glad this question got asked because the Honda Jazz has a CVT gearbox up until 2011, late 8, I think it was, 2008. Then they changed it to a automatic transmission and then back to a CVT. Now we're seeing a lot more cars with CVT gearboxes in. And one of the things with CVT gearboxes, they do need to have the gearbox oil replaced regularly, every 40,000 kilometers in the case of the Honda Jazz. And this is what workshops don't do. Oh, the car comes in for a service, it's $8.99, do the service, goodbye. It doesn't get done properly.
$8.99, you
Or whatever
thief.
it is, you know, these cheap and nasty services. So if you regularly change the gearbox oil in your CVT, maybe a Honda, maybe a Cherry, maybe an Audi, whatever.
Don't say regularly. Just give them a time. Like 60,000 kilometers would be
40,000 kilometers.
40,000
Some of the
kilometers,
manufacturers
yes.
have pushed it to 60,000 kilometers. There's a lot of Nissans that have CVTs. A lot of the Japanese cars, Mitsubishis, and that. Every 40 to 60,000 kilometers you change the oil. With the Honda Jazz, it's quite correct. I have tried other CVT oils in the Jazzes, doesn't work. You get a shutter, like a clutch shutter, as you pull off, and it goes. Some places will say, oh, you need a new gearbox, it's great expense. You don't. You just do what our viewer's done, and that's change the gearbox oil with the genuine Honda CVT
He
oil.
hasn't done that yet.
Yeah,
He
do
just
it.
wants some...
And then drive it and see how it is. If you still have a little bit of a shudder,
drain it off.
drive it for like a week or two, then get another 4 liters of oil because it comes in a container of 4 liters. It's very simple. Drain it out, pour the next in, close it up, and off you go. And 99.999% of the time, it will repair your problem. And just carry on doing it every 40,000 K. So if you've got a Honda Jazz or any other vehicle that has a CVT gearbox and it has this sort of a shudder in it, there's a
First
good,
thing to do is
good
change
tip
the
to do.
oil.
I'm glad this question came
Yeah,
up
I'm
because
glad
there are
too.
a lot more
I just
CVTs
want
going
to
on.
tell Vinny something though. He's put it in brackets here, 1,600 Rand a pop.
Yeah.
Hey Vinny, it's cheap.
Yeah.
1,600 Rand a pop is very cheap compared to you wanting to replace that gearbox.
If you consider about that, it's every 2 years. So let's say it costs you with labor and everything
800 Rand a
2,000
year.
Rand to get it done at a workshop. That's only, work it out, it's like not even $200 a month. You know, it's not a lot of money for the maintenance of that. And I can tell you, if you do that regularly, your engine's good for 500,000 Ks, and so is your gearbox. Just change that oil on a
Yeah,
regular
just
basis.
don't let anyone tell you that you have to replace the gearbox and the shutter's bad. I think the reason he's asked us is because somebody told him, no, you got to replace the gearbox.
no.
And he got a bit scared about the costing on
And
it.
it's so simple,
Yeah.
even Siggy Woodley could do it. Our last question of the week comes from Trevor, who is a pensioner who lives in Cape Town. He and his wife frequently travel to their second home on the west coast, driving their 2013 Nissan X-Trail 2 litre with a boat in tow. Their second car is a 2018 VW Polo 1 litre TSI, which they'd like to sell as the car has become uncomfortable to climb in and out of. They have a budget of about 500,000, 500,000 Rand, and they're looking at a compact SUV that will be used mostly for town driving. The options are the VW T-Cross, Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid, and the Hyundai Creta. Let's start with you, young man. What do you
Yes.
think?
Yeah, look, as I said before many times on the show, Corolla Cross, great car, a lot of value for money, a lot of space inside there, and I think for what they need, it ticks all boxes. However, they do like Volkswagen. And I recently drove the T-Cross Comfort line, which is the bottom of the range one, 70 kilowatts with a manual gearbox, so it doesn't have the DSG, which is a good thing. And I think that was about 380,000.
Yeah.
That's also well worth a look.
But not as spacious as the Corolla Cross.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Bradley, what are your thoughts on those?
Yeah, I mean, you know, all the cars that you selected, they are actually all very good cars.
Yeah.
You know, the Hyundai is also a very nice car. The Toyota, I mean, that new one's beautifully put together, nice cars. Yeah, I mean, go and drive them, see which one you like the most. I think that's the answer there.
Yeah, I think I'm with you, Thomas. The Corolla Cross, they've brought that car in at the right price point. It's got 1 million dealers. You know, you can find a dealer under a tree anywhere. Good backup. Always got reliability.
Yeah.
It's a very, very safe bet. And if they're pensioners, you don't want to go and spend lots of money on maintenance. And the thing with cars like that is they're always easy to fix, and generally any workshop can fix it wherever you are.
And I
They're
don't
not
agree with that.
complicated.
They're pensioners. He likes the VW product. I say he should just go buy himself his
T-Cross.
The T-Cross.
I just think
enjoy it.
the Corolla
And just
Cross
enjoy it.
is a better package overall.
Yeah. I
It's a
think
bit more spacious. It
Getting
may not
more,
be
yeah.
as sexy as the T-Cross. The T-Cross is a good-looking car, but it's long-term. I think the Corolla Cross is
Yeah, but like you said, Bradley,
his
they
wife.
should drive both.
Yeah.
Should
Drive
drive
them all
both.
and see, yeah.
And see which one he actually
even the
likes.
Creta, and
It's
I mean
very
they're
good.
bringing out the new Grand Creta that's coming out in the next week or two, and that's slightly bigger. So if you want something a little bit bigger, then have a look at wait for the new the new Creta to come out. That's something to look at.
Yep. And with that, we've come to the end of this week's episode. Thank you, Thomas and Bradley, for joining us and, as usual, providing us with some useful information and advice for our viewers.
And remember, if you're thinking of selling your vehicle, visit changecars.co.za and click on the Sell Your Vehicle tab to get the best price for your pride and joy. Please join us again next week when we find out which model is the pick of the W203 Mercedes-Benz C-Class range.
Is an older model Nissan Juke a sound used car buy?
And what do you do with a Ford Ranger that's suffering from a persistent turbo problem?
Until next time, please buckle up and keep it safe on the roads.
Buyer's Guide was brought to you by Change Cars, the platform where only manufacturer-approved dealers are allowed to advertise.